Hello, FewCandy here, and welcome back to another episode of Cities Skylines. And thank you to everyone who turned out for the live stream a few days ago. That was just super fun. I was absolutely blown away by the number of people we had there. So just thank you so much for all the support. It was great fun, and we're definitely going to have more of those coming up in the future. So here's the product of what we did on the live stream. So we created, or at least started to, there's a few blanks to fill out still, but we started to create this kind of trendy market slash bars slash eatery slash container kind of, trendy entertainment district is what we were going for there. So we've got little food courts, that sort of thing. But there is quite a lot to finish off in this area, so we will just start today by getting this all done. Just ran out of time as always. Detailing is not a quick thing in Cities Skylines. And we did also put a name into this district, which is Prepare to Market, named by Overcharged Egg. So thank you for that. Little honorary nod to Panavan, which is his build, which has really heavily inspired this one. As well as the entertainment district, we did also add in our ferry line as well, which just had one passenger using it. So it's not really very well utilised at the moment. But what we can do, just to help that along its way, is add the prefer ferries policy. In fact, I'm going to do it on the entire city at the moment, but I think we will change that up further down the line because we don't necessarily want everyone using those ferries. So we'll check later in the episode if we're getting more passengers on it. Because at the moment there's like literally absolutely no one using it. So it's a bit dismal, but there is a tram track that runs all the way along there. It will be much, much quicker for them. But yeah, liking that we've got that in, and we did just build this little ferry pier out here as well, using lots of keys for decoration there. So yeah, let's just start today's episode by finishing this off. So I'll come through and fill in a lot of these blank areas. We also need to add in a bit more detailing, like there's big blank spaces around some of these assets that definitely need touching up. A bit more greenery in amongst the benches and down some of the streets as well. Just a lot more decoration, I think, to make it fully trendy entertainment district. So we'll come through and do that, and alongside that as well I am just going to tidy up these two residential neighbourhoods. So come through and select the assets, because at the moment it's just way too mixed bag for my liking. Lots of big gaps here and there, so I want them a bit more tightly packed and a lot more consistent in the theme and the style of them. So I will just go ahead and tidy those up. I'm not going to do a super amount of detailing around them, but just to make sure it has the right look and feel about it, which it does not at the moment. So I'm going to jump straight into that as a time lapse, and then we can get on with today's build. And there we go. Prepare to market is finally complete. So I have just gone around and added in loads of these trees and little planters. I did add in some of the amusement park assets. So just the level 1 amusement park assets, so the carousel and a couple of those entertainment booths. Can't remember the exact name of them. I have changed out the horrendous tiling around them just for normal tiles because it blends in a bit better with the Statue of Wealth here and just the general colours here. We've still got a little bit of the tiling there, but I think that's fine around the carousel. I can handle that. And then, yeah, we've just added in a little play park next to the skate park. Loads more planters just to decorate up. Fleshed this out a little bit here, added in a few more shops. And again, decorated up in this back corner here. And I did also, so someone in the chat in the live stream, which I missed, but I did see, suggested adding in a tiny bit of key without the wall. So I've done that and then moved the path up to it, and people are now using it, I think. Yeah, there we go. They are. And that just looks so much better. So you can see underneath at the walls there, you can see a tiny bit of the terrain sticking up there, but we're gonna ignore that. We can't really see it too bad. But I think that looks a lot better. So yeah, a couple of trees around here to add a bit of shade. But that is, I have to say, actually, I think this is possibly one of my favourite builds ever in Cities Skylines. Yeah, I think it's come together nicely. And then I have as well just been through, I've added in a back street to these shops, been through and completely overhauled this neighbourhood. So we've got a university content creator pack neighbourhood here with all of these different houses. I haven't done too much backyard detailing or anything like that. I've added in a few hedges here and there just to make things make a bit of sense, but that's it. We have now got another community school on the corner because we were in need of elementary. So yeah, just added this in here. And of course, as always, extended the playground out just down the front into this corner here. So just making use of the odd shapes, something that I, of course, always like to do. Added in a little bit more Green Cities shops along the front here, along the water's edge, and then overhauled this neighbourhood as well. So just gone through and selected all of those assets. But I think this whole area is now complete. So let's go on to the main content, or was meant to be the main content of today's episode. So when we look at our healthcare, we haven't got too much of it in. So I've got 2 very small healthcare clinics there. There is nothing covering this area. We are going to have a campus out this side of the road as well. So what I want here, and also as a way of kind of layering up the density as we head towards the built up downtown area, which will be on this peninsula here, I'm going to add in quite a substantial medical area to here. So we're going to use a lot of assets. It's going to be total overkill. I'm going to have to keep my eye on the budget a little bit. It fluctuates a lot because we've got the oil industry in, which is fine. That's just what happens with Industries DLC. But we do just want to watch it a little bit and just make sure that it's okay. So what I'm going to do for access purposes is join this up to the road here. And actually I might just come straight across like that. And then here, because I know that I'm going to have the campus out this side, I'm going to add in a roundabout here. And I think what I will probably do is ultimately bring this road up to connect onto the highway here. And that way the medical station here will have a kind of a slightly faster collector route out onto the arterial as well. So that is going to be the general overall plan. So I will actually just follow this road out there for now. But we'll leave it like that and we won't connect it up just yet. So we'll come into Roundabout Builder, and I'm always going to use the 3-lane road here because we've got 2 lanes on all of these roads and we've got 4 exits. So essentially when you come onto the roundabout, there's 3 different choices. So 1 lane for each choice makes sense to me. So that is the road that we will use there. And in terms of size, I'm quite happy for it to be that size. I don't think it needs to be any bigger. I mean, that's probably big enough actually as it is. And then as always, we will use Traffic Manager to set that up. So Shift Control left click. And then I will also use Node Controller just to an offset of 20 is how I always do roundabout junctions because I think it just makes it a lot smoother. And what I probably will do in the long run as well is convert this road either into a highway or increase the speed limit on it so that we get faster speed going up this road, so it is a quicker route. Now I am getting, I'm watching this car, and I had it in the last episode as well, a tiny bit of stutter coming in, and I'm wondering, having watched Biffa's recent episode where he mentioned if it is to do with Traffic Manager and the parking AI, advanced parking AI, which we do have switched on in this city. And it's not bothering me so much that it's unplayable at the moment, so I am going to leave it, but it's something I just need to keep an eye on, I think. So for the medical centre, what we are going to do is bring it off this connecting road here, and I won't have traffic lights on it because we don't want to slow up the traffic on this connecting junction here, but I will just bring it out, I think by about that kind of distance, and then what we will do is actually use a 1-unit road to kind of track round the hospital facility. So we'll just bring it out like that for the moment. And what I'd like right up front is some big car parks. So I'm going to use actually a couple of these just to extend into this area. I think about that distance is fine. I'm going to use move it to move this right up close to this other one, so that we get, yeah, kind of one big car park look. And what we'll do is put some planters and some decoration up in the middle there. Now for the main assets, I mean, I'm going to go absolutely crazy with these medical assets. We're going to use several of them all in one go. So I'm going to have this main vanilla hospital just up front. I think as kind of like the focal point when you come in. I might just try, I don't know if we're going to have enough space to do this, but I might try and move it over a little bit so that we've got it in the centre there. Because I would also like to introduce as well, and total overkill again, this is not like efficient for the game, but this is going for a big hospital complex aesthetic look more so than anything else. But yeah, we're going to have absolutely fine medical care is the answer. So yeah, I want this one in here because I like the way it sort of backs out onto this collector road, and cars and things won't come out of here, so it's not going to be a traffic problem onto this road. But I like the way it joins up because we've got a lot of green belt going up the road this way. So I think that, yeah, will make a nice kind of change to it. And it's a super tall building as well. So when we come to think about how the city is building up, we can see from back here, that's just adding in just a little bit of extra bulk and height to that skyline. So yeah, we'll have that there. We can't have this one aligned in the middle, which is fine, So we will just move that over. And I'm going to use Bob to get rid of all of the car parking spaces on this because obviously we have the big car park there. I don't want random cars parking in random places. So yeah, we will remove all of those on both of these buildings. There we go. So what I will do here as well is just draw in a road because this one isn't connected at the moment. So I'm just going to have a very small off-road coming out like that, just so that it's got a road connection ultimately. So now we'll follow the road network on round the building. So I'm going to come down the back like this and then bring it, I think, out this way. And the other building I also want to get into here is the medical laboratory. So we'll add that in, I think, like that. So what we're kind of going for here is a major hospital type look. Generally speaking, a lot of the hospitals in the UK will have lots of different buildings and departments to it. So they'll have like an A&E, they'll have an outpatients, they'll have a children's department, whatever it might be. Different things for different medical needs. So that's the type of thing that I want to go for here, is lots and lots of different buildings that all come together to make one kind of medical complex. I think if we bring the road in like that, there is another building that I want to introduce, and that is one of the unique assets, which is actually this city office building. So it's nothing to do with medical, but I feel like it has kind of a sort of hospital-y vibe. It doesn't look too dissimilar to that old European hospital there. And these ones are a bit modern, but again, a lot of the hospitals near me will have old buildings mixed in with newer ones and constant development, that sort of thing. So I don't think it feels unrealistic in that sense. So I'll just put that in there. And then what we can do here is a bit of a plaza when we come to doing the detailing. And I do want a few smaller buildings in here as well. So I think we will just plop in a small medical clinic. and also a child healthcare clinic here as well. So let's just move it here to just adjust that slightly. We'll have that, I think, coming out that side, and the little medical clinic here. And again, lots of detailing is needed to just tidy up some of these green spaces in between. But I think that is okay as a sort of outpatients area. And I'm going to leave the spaces on those because we've got them elsewhere in the city. So I would quite like them still on there. And I think that's okay to just have a couple of spaces. Maybe they're like the doctor's spaces for those individual buildings. And then we can also, again, just mix up the assets here and use a few office buildings. So these ones in particular, I think, go quite nicely with all these hospital buildings, with all the glass and kind of white concrete structure with glass. I think works pretty well. And again, this is another one where if we align it properly, we can get a really nice kind of one building feel to it, just like that. Now I do just want to reset this to make sure they're exactly the same colour, and that's very, very slightly different right now. And then what we'll do actually is copy those. Yeah, we've just got 2 blocks of offices there, which I think, you know, helps to make it look like they're other outpatient buildings, and they go quite well into this complex. So unfortunately, we haven't unlocked the crematoriums or the cryopreservatories yet, but they would make a nice addition to this area as well. But I do also want to introduce finally just the medical helicopter depot. So it's a little bit overkill, to be honest, for a city with our size at the moment, but I think if it's going to go in anywhere, this is probably the best place for it. So I'm just going to put a road up like that. I'm going to adjust it when I see exactly what size it is. But I want this to come in behind these buildings here, tucked in reasonably close. We'll actually leave a little bit of a gap to the main road there so we can have a tiny bit of green belt. And then let's just bring this road in right in alongside it. Now, one other thing I do want to use in here as well, and we may start needing it fairly soon, is actually the disaster response unit, which we haven't got in anywhere as of yet. Now, it's a massive building, but actually I think it fits in reasonably well, just tucked into this little corner. So you can imagine if you're driving along this road, you kind of poke around this massive hospital building, and then you see this like really grand disaster response unit, which I think looks quite nice here. So we will leave a little bit of a gap to the road, so we've got a tiny bit of green belt to be able to put in, and leave a gap there so we can make a bit of a garden kind of feel around it. Now there are a couple of other buildings that we can introduce here as well, and actually a few more office buildings, which again I think have quite a nice hospital vibe. So we've used these in a few different places actually, but I actually really like these assets. I think they look pretty good. I'm going to bring them slightly further away from the road, so again they can have a little bit of a forecourt on them, but they do go together really nicely to form one long-ish building, and we just want to make sure that they're the same colour again, so just like that, which again I think it fits in quite well with all of these other medical buildings like that. So I think that is looking reasonably good as the buildings for our medical complex. So it is pretty dense, and we've got a few different things going on. And I'm actually just thinking here what I might do is introduce just one shop. They're usually within the hospitals, granted, but I think we can use, yeah, there's a slightly different one of these that we can use. Yeah, this one with a little bit more forecourt on it. The giant rotating ice cream is very off-putting, so I think let's use Bob and get rid of that. There we go. That's a lot better. But I think we can leave it like that, and then we can have a road across here which goes to the elder care clinic, which I've just popped in across the road. I don't think it fits really within the campus to have that in. The child healthcare clinic with the hedges as well is almost a little bit questionable, but I think a child healthcare centre like that would be a bit more nicely decorated than all the concrete that we see elsewhere in the medical centre. So I think that is all the main assets that I want to put into the medical complex. But just before we come through and do detailing, there are a couple of game elements to address. So firstly, we do have quite large residential demand, so I want to come out and flesh out this area with a bit more high density residential. But secondly, I also want to get transport down to our medical clinic, because at the moment we've got a tram line that is coming in here, and we also have our bus station up there. So the tram route, the long-term plan, this is a tram exchange here, and we've only got one line coming in at the moment. So we've got this white line that flows all the way up and down through to the industry. So longer term, I'm thinking we will have another line in here, we'll have several lines in here, but one of them is going to flow along this main road and out down along the coast. So we've got the metro that we've laid out here, and the reason why I haven't factored that into the medical build is because this is going to go off in this direction up to the campus, and then from there it will flow down into the downtown, but slightly further out, so not along this coast but further out, and we'll probably have another metro line that comes in along the coast as well. But this one is going to just flow out this way up towards where we are going to have the campus. So I'll just bring it out straight across the road like that for now. And with that flowing off in that direction, we'll have another tram line starting at this interchange here, running up this main road and diverging off around the coast this way, going up eventually towards the downtown area. Maybe not quite all the way in. It's kind of thinking to keep trams to the outer suburbs of the city and leave them out of the main downtown area, but we'll see when we come to it. I think I'm going to leave the tram for the moment and just add in another bus line taking us from the bus station here up to the medical clinic and back, and eventually that will be extended again round the suburbs round this way, probably in a slightly different route to the tram for optimal efficiency. So we will start our bus line at the bus centre here, and let's just pick a platform. I'll go for the end platform. And I'm actually going to bring it straight down onto this waterfront because we don't have any transport connections down here. So I think that would be useful for the ferry. Maybe it would start encouraging people to use the ferry a bit more. We'll see. And then I'm actually going to bring it through this residential neighbourhood as well. So before I forget, let's just change the bus types. We'll just have regular buses on this and no school buses. Thank you. And there are 8, so that's way too many. So let's just dial that right down. 5, yeah, probably more than enough as well, but we'll leave it like that for now. So there we go. And I'm kind of annoyed that this doesn't go round the outer ring, so I might just move these stops to here just so it flows that way. I just feel that that's a bit better. That's a more of an internal road, and this is a main road round the coastline there. So that should be absolutely fine, giving these guys a little bit of transport here up to the main bus hub. They can hop on the tram from there or the metro eventually when that is all hooked in. So that'll be fine. So let's get on to a little bit of residential and fleshing out this area here. Now what I would like here is a few more tower blocks actually like this. And I think what I will do is arrange them into a little bit of a complex. So I'm just going to have 3 like that. I think sometimes things look better in odd numbers. Don't know why. And we are also going to vary the orientation of it. So having one like that I think is okay. And then I think I'll bring the third one out. Again, maybe a slightly different orientation, just like that, which gives it a little bit more variation. Those two are quite square on. If we just have a look from a bit of a distance away, and it does sit in front of the medical clinic from over there, but it just helps to have these little pockets of height. So yeah, I think that looks all right like that. It's just enough variation to give it a bit of interest. I'm wondering if actually we should spin this one round a little bit more so it's like that. So they're almost on 45-degree angles to each other. So yeah, I think actually I will do that. I quite like the look of that. Have a look from Castle Island as well. See, those two are quite close there, but I think I think that looks okay. So let's just make sure that this one is the same colour as the other one. So we will go for the black colour here. We've got a lot of tall white buildings, so I think that is all right. So we will need some internal roads. So let's get our parking lot roads. I'm thinking is probably, as always, the obvious choice for here. Let's just turn Anarchy on to get this in. And I think we'll come up and round like that. And we could have another little bit going this way. And I'm not going to connect it up to this road because that is the collector. We've got a lot of junctions up it already. It's not the main collector, obviously. We've got that one there. But still, I think we can avoid putting an extra junction in there. So we have that on the corner. This one nice and centrally in that block there. And again, this one is diagonal there. So what we need to do there is a bit of detailing around them to flesh that all out. And with these as well, I'm not too sure. I feel like it's too much of a continuous pattern. So I'm actually going to break this up a little bit and remove a couple of these. And what I will do then is just add in a couple more smaller alleyways, just so it breaks up that quite hard terraced look just a little bit. Just makes it less of a solid block. So I'm preferring how that looks. And then in front of those as well, they do look pretty tiny, but yeah, I think it's okay. So let's just put paths in here as well so we can get people walking through there to the car park. And I will just add in some more connections here as well, just to make sure we've got the walkability all the way around. So I think in this little spot we'll get some more high density residential in. Choose a slightly smaller asset to go here. So something more of this kind of height, like slightly taller than these ones, but nowhere near as tall as the big tower blocks. And something like that actually really isn't too bad for there. We want to get rid of those car parking spaces, obviously, and they've got the garages on the front. I'm wondering if actually we should spin this around a little bit. Maybe just like that. And I think those trees are far enough off the pavement we can get away with that. We put it up to this side so it's right on this car park. And in fact, we can just move this up just a little bit. So people can walk now across the end there as well, which helps with walkability. And actually that does mean there is a little bit of room for potentially another one here. And we do have this one, which doesn't have the parking on, which actually is the same building, which is probably what we should put on the other side. Yeah, I think that's okay. And it's got the door on the side there, so I quite like the fact that that's sort of open up onto the pavement there, actually. So then what I will use here is surface painter just to fill in those gaps there. Get rid of that pavement tearing. And then, of course, let's definitely get rid of those car parking spaces. Yeah, I like how that looks. And that little bit of tile on the front matches the plaza here as well. So that makes sense, I think. And then coming down to this end, I'd like some more high density residential here as well, especially because it's up quite close to the metro line. I think that is needed rather than having low density in here. But again, I'll go for some lower assets. So we've just got these 3 tall tower blocks as the kind of skyline for this particular area, if you can call it a skyline. Now there's a few different high density residential assets that go really well together that are essentially the same type of building but just very different, slightly different sized assets. And these are these ones. So we are going to use these, I think, in a block here. So let's go ahead and arrange them. So I think like that will work well. And then here what we can do is drop in just the small playground from the city park, because I think the playground wouldn't go amiss outside the back of these houses, although it is a little bit larger actually than I was anticipating, so I'm not sure if it is going to fit here. Let's see what we can do to make this work. So I didn't actually like that, so I have changed it up. It just didn't fit in this space, and I didn't want to get rid of these buildings and make it more of a park area than it needed to be. So what I have done is just dropped in this little park asset, which is one that I've made a while ago in the asset editor. Really super basic. And it is a lot easier than you think, by the way, to make assets, particularly parks. So I would go and experiment with it if you haven't already. But yeah, just this little park asset that I've made myself and is small enough to just fit into a space like this. So I think this is what we will use here, and we can join it up with path between these 2 car parks as well. So if we just add in a connection there, it can flow off that onto the back of this building there. So I think generally that's okay, and we will add in some more path connections so that we can get people walking in between the buildings. So similarly down the front here as well, we'll definitely have a couple of connections up here. And that goes out onto a garden actually, so we will leave that. But down this side as well, we'll have one flowing up there. And then we can just get people moving around properly in these areas, which gives it a nice little touch, I find. So I think that will do for that block. And then over here, what I'd like to do is actually kind of more of the same, but just some slightly different assets. And there we go. So what I have done is just try to use similar buildings in a kind of a development pattern. So leaving a bit of space in between all of the buildings, which we can come out and do some detailing in, some little park areas, just some green belt as well in places. And what I haven't done is change the building colours here, so we just want to make sure that they are a-okay and in line with everything else. I'm not keen on the like super bright colours, unless it's like you're trying to go for that type of thing, which we probably will do somewhere in the city, is make a little bit of a kind of artsy type of development with lots of different brightly coloured buildings, that sort of thing. I did just add these 3 tower blocks on the end, so there's 2 assets here which actually they're essentially the same thing but go really well into a little development. But I feel like they look a little bit run down and you know, like a bit more appropriate to be sat right next to the medical complex with all of the noise and that sort of thing going on here. That's what I've gone for at the end. One little tall building here as well to sit next to the metro. They can have nice views out over the metro line there and down into the services, which we'll need to come up and detail up as well. And I have added in just a tiny bit of low density residential, which is burning right now, along this road, just to vary up the height here as well. And I think these look like reasonable kind of townhouses with the stairs up the side, maisonette type thing maybe. So I think we can get away with them in this particular area. I've also added in a small, just the vanilla play park, which of course we will come up and detail as well. So the other thing that happened when I was filling in the residential assets is we hit a population of 11,000. So we got a small city, which means that we get trains. So we can definitely come in and start looking at that cargo train terminal pretty soon, which is exciting. But we also have a load of policies as well, and we will come on to policies. I'm aware I haven't really done anything on that as of yet. And the other thing we do have is the content creator pack metro stations. But having had a little look at them, I've actually realised that none of the above ground ones will centralise nicely or be symmetrical. So this one has slightly more glass on one side than the other, which bothers me. Doesn't work in this area. This one is symmetrical, but it's super long. And I don't like how it looks actually as much as this one with the stairs up on the outside. And then this one's not symmetrical at all. So I think actually for here, we are just going to leave the bog standard vanilla overground metro station in here. So with that, I think all that is needed now is to come in and detail this all up. So to come through what we did, so we've used a bit of zoo path up along this road, which we haven't really done much path against road action so far in Auridon, but I think this works really well, and there's loads of people using it rather than trying to squeeze in buildings or just putting in more fence here. Thought I'd vary it up there, so we've used that. We've come in with lots of surface painter, tidied up the textures, but still kept lots of greenery and little green spaces here and there to vary it up. So it's not just pure concrete vibes. We've got little picnic benches in, some fencing to back off these gardens. Again, very much more of the same. I've extended this out with a few little path networks, but nothing major on that playground, just to kind of blend it into the space that it's in. Again, more picnic benches and a couple of little play areas. And actually over here, I put the playground on some planters, which I thought looked quite good, actually. It makes it look like that sort of wood chip playground. So I was quite pleased with how that came out. Again, more picnic benches, but yeah, lots of green belt around there. So it breaks up that kind of high density look of the building. So I feel like that looks all right. It's still got the Auridon greenery in there, but we're getting a lot more high density residential in. Trying to increase that population slowly. And then over in the medical complex, we've used lots of fence all the way around the edge. So we've got double fence action here, nature reserve, and then just the normal park fence here. Lined the car park up nicely. Lots of benches all over the place and bins for people to sit and then coming around here again, it's very similar. Fence around the edge, some bushes. We've done a little plaza here with a fountain on a planter, a few different planters and some benches. So that's kind of a central area where people could go and sit and ponder their thoughts, I suppose, while they wait for relatives or whatever they are doing in the hospital complex. Again, more benches outside of these offices here, so just giving them a bit of a forecourt, and then lots of fence around the helicopter depot. And then outside of the disaster response unit, we've just put in a little plaza and decorated up with a few hedges there. But nothing much. I've tried to keep that quite open as well, because considering I want to, when you come down this road, I want it to be quite a nice view. And we still do need to come in and do something with this roundabout, which we'll do at a later time. But as you come in, you've got those really high density hospital buildings, and then as you come around this corner, I wanted the view to be completely clear onto the disaster response unit. So I've just kept that with that little plaza. No high trees at all in the front here, which I think was okay. And actually now, while I'm looking at it, one final little adjustment, and that is Bob on these trees, because I'm not super keen on those. So let's change it to an Auridon Douglas fir. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Blends in much more nicely. So that was it, really. Kept in lots of the greenery there, but I think that has generally worked okay. When you look at the view from further away as well, you can see we're just building up this density and this height here. So yeah, coming in from this road, you're starting to get much more of those tower blocks and that kind of built up feeling. So that's exactly what we wanted here. So yeah, overall, I think this whole area is looking okay. It's come together well. I absolutely love this market square. Definitely my favourite thing I think I've ever done in Cities Skylines. Very busy, but that's exactly what I was going for there. So for next time, I think expansion out this way is needed, and we'll be looking at this nature reserve park as well, because we haven't really got any big parks in yet. Although the Siobhan Williams Park has actually managed to get up to level 4. So that was good to see. And one final thing before we do call it a day today, I'm just going to check the ferries. And we've still got serious passengers, even with that ferry policy. Oh, we've got 2 there. Got 2 there, even with the ferry policy on prefer ferries. They're still not using it. That shows we need to expand it down this way, and then hopefully people will take it as an actual viable option. But you know what? It looks nice with them coming backwards and forwards through the bridge. So that's all that matters, really. Aesthetics, right? So for today, that will do. And I've got cinematics coming up with some absolutely gorgeous nighttime shots. So be sure to stick around for that. And if you have enjoyed this video, please remember to give it a like, drop me a comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because it all really, really helps me out as I try to grow this channel. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you again next time. Bye bye.